let's see. For me, this week has been I merged a PR with a bunch of fixes for the op tracking stuff Radek put in, so that seems to be working pretty well now. And I have the initial op pipeline rebase out for review. I think Radek's probably almost ready on that one. Yingjin, how's it going?
Yeah, last week I mostly reviewed the backgraph tree and did some analysis here. And I think that PR looks fine to me, except some minor comments. And the second part, I'm working on the segment cleaner metrics and cleanups, and introduced 6 new graph to understand what is going on with the garbage cleaning. Yeah, I also find out the result shows that the reclaiming only with LBA tree seems not efficient. I think that matches Shuhan's observation. And there are some adjustments to the space calculations in the segment cleaner, and I need to make sure that it makes sense to you. That's all.
Yep, I just left a few comments about 20 minutes ago. It looks mostly fine. I just have some questions about the metadata changes and the journal seek thing, mostly. We can discuss them at the end of the meeting. They aren't real complicated. As far as the backgraph tree goes, I'm fine with that PR. So once you're happy with it, we can merge it.
Okay, thank you.
You don't need to wait for me on that one. Let's see. Sunday, how's it going?
Last week, root cause raising test issue, and found that the client request will retry maybe 2 more times if it failed. For example, the first is delete, but the object is not exist. It returned non-exist, and the request will retry. So when we get the error code, we should write an error log. Then the request come in, and we'll check the log to check if it is already finished, already completed. So I'm not sure if we write the error log to the PG log. Do we need to send to the replicated copy?
Yes. Yeah, we're just missing support for that completely. You'll want to take a look at Classic OSD for how it works, but yes, it's a full replicated transaction. If you think about it, it has to be that way because if the primary goes down, the same rules apply.
So we send the same log to the replicated, all the same operation to the replicated.
Correct.
My question is
the same log entries. Just as we would with a normal replicated write, when we send the replicated write, the replicas get both the log entries for the log and the actual data. In this case, they only get the log entries, but it's the same principle.
Oh, okay, I see. So I'm still working on the PR.
You'll want to take a look at how Classic OSD does it.
Yeah, classical OSD very complicated. I'm not very familiar with the PG log, so I'm still reading the code because we have changed the many data structures, and they are different, and so I still compare them. Yeah, so still working on the PG log PR. And another issue is that when we do the write operation, we set the object state exist, but the next operation coming and check the exist, it disappear. So still debugging on it. I don't know why we write into it, but next check it is nothing. So still debugging on it.
Yeah, likely a bug with how we're caching the object state.
Yeah. So.
For advice, when you're ready to talk about it more, I'm happy to talk about that process with you. But the obvious way to do this is to extend the way we send IOs to replicas to be able to send these dataless PG log entry sequences.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing, I don't remember what message Classic OSD uses to send it. We want to use the same message. So I would check at least that part. But let me know when you have questions. I can help you work through it once you
Oh, okay, thank you,
a little bit further
because
on.
there are so many uncompleted, uncommitted and something in the classical
Yeah, it's
SD,
pretty
so
complicated.
yeah, so I
So
can't match them exactly. So yeah, I will send you email and ask you my questions. Thank you.
yeah, once you feel like you've got it, yeah. We can also schedule time to talk since we're in the same time zone. If that would help, whatever works for you.
Thank you.
I'll put on my to-do list to remind myself how that actually works because I've also forgotten.
And the rest of this week, I will spend some time on conference presentation comparison. So maybe no much time on the debugging.
Sure.
That's all
Sounds
from me.
Rayhan, how's it going?
This week I did the concurrent IO test you suggested last week, and the result shows that if we set the number of concurrent IOs to under 128, we can see the conflicts drops about a half. But the conflicts rate is still significantly higher than that on other types of extents. So I am trying to come up with a pessimistic concurrency control design. On the other hand, I'm also trying to notify the back reference PR as suggested, and I think I can finish debugging the code within the next one day or two, after which I will push the PR. That's all for me.
Mike, how does throughput change with the number of concurrent IOs?
Sorry, I think I can send an email after the meeting. I didn't collect that data now.
Because that's the main question. We don't really care about the number of concurrent IOs. We care about conflicts compared to commit rate.
Oh, okay.
So, for instance, if we only need 16 concurrent IOs to saturate it, then so if we only need 16 concurrent IOs to saturate it, then that's the conflict rate we're worried about. We would never send more than 16 if that's the right number to saturate it. Do what I mean?
Yeah. I think I know.
128 seems really, really high, is what I'm saying. That seems like a crazy number of IOs.
Oh no, that's the total. That's concurrent IOs. I think, according to our experience in our online clusters, we already set that the throttle of concurrent IOs for a single OSD to about 10,000. I think that's the number.
Are you talking about the messenger level throttles in Classic?
Yeah.
Do you regularly hit that?
Yes.
And you need 10,000 IOs to saturate a Classic OSD?
Maybe we overset it.
Most disks can't actually perform more than about 64 concurrent IOs. And each of these IOs is going to be multiple IOs. So while the OSD as a whole might need more concurrency, the actual the commit process down at Seastore itself, I'm skeptical that it could possibly require more than 16.
Okay.
Certainly for a single reactor.
Yeah, in my environment, I think 62 or 64 concurrent I/O will saturate the CPU utilization.
And that's full
from
OSD. That's not just Seastore. That's the entire OSD pipeline
yeah.
from Messenger all the way through. I'm only talking about
Yeah.
Seastore level concurrency.
hmm
So I don't know about 128 concurrent IOs. I'm skeptical. So
Okay. Okay.
what I'm saying is, before we consider concurrency strategies that are more complicated than what we have now, I really want to establish that we actually need to.
Okay. I think I get your point.
Also, are you changing the FIO IO depth, or have you added a throttle to Seastore itself? Because those aren't quite the same thing.
No. Actually, I changed the FIO depth, not the Seastore throttle.
Yeah, I'd like you to change the Seastore throttle because, like I said, the number of IOs required to saturate the entire OSD is going to be different from the number required to saturate Seastore.
Okay. Okay.
Does that make sense? Also, we're going to need a
Yeah.
throttle eventually. Like, there's going to be some number of IOs that is the maximum number of IO that is enough IOs that Seastore gets full throughput, right? If we accept
Yes.
more IOs than that, then the OSD layer above us isn't able to do any kind of prioritization because Seastore is accepting thousands of IOs that it can't actually do. We literally only want to accept enough IOs to saturate. Any IOs past that is a waste of memory.
Okay. Okay.
That'll get more complicated as we get better, but this is a real problem BlueStore has. BlueStore accepts way more IOs that it needs to actually saturate, and that makes doing quality of service at the OSD level much harder. Do you see what I mean?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. So anyway, like I said, we'll need a throttle eventually, so we might as well add one now so we can do testing with it.
Okay. Okay.
Let me know if you've got any questions about that. Guifeng, do you have anything you want to talk about?
I just going to pick up some technical background. Yeah.
Sure.
To on the same language
have
with
you.
you guys. Yeah.
All right. Is there anything else? Yingjun, do you want to discuss that other PR?
Yeah, I saw your comments. I think that mostly makes sense to me, and I will try to drop the segment ID from the journal sequence, and I'm not sure the impact. I will try that.
Yeah, the only concern is there may be users where we actually use the segment ID, so that would be adding a step where you have to go to the segment cleaner and get the mapping to get the correct segment ID back. I don't know if that's worth doing. It might be more complexity than it's worth.
I think logically, the segment ID is not needed from the journal sequence.
Yeah, certainly it's recoverable from somewhere else, and when it gets written down in metadata and it's not needed, it just increases our write amplification, even if only by a little bit. So
yeah,
it may well be worth doing.
Yeah.
And are you okay with my comment on the extent info T thing? I'm less sure about that.
Yeah, I'm okay. I think it's just a balance between complexity, accuracy, and overhead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm fine to drop that. Yeah,
Okay, cool.
It doesn't the size of extend info compared to the extend size is not huge.
It also means that this way we're measuring the actual live data, like just the blocks themselves. So if, for instance, out-of-line segments get modified to be more efficient about the way they do their write-out by, for instance, not having an extent info T at all, it'll mean that the garbage collector will have a slight preference for journal segments, which is probably what we want. So that's my argument anyway. Cool. All right. Is there anything else? All right. Have a great week. Bye.